Welcome. God bless you. It's good to be with you. This is the second message in our series on trusting God or learning to trust God. Let me give a brief review and then we'll get into this message. Trusting God is a conscious choice. That was our first message. It's an act of our will. It has to be something that will be intentional on our hearts and minds. I'm going to trust God in this situation. Isaiah 12:2-3 say, God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. Psalm 56:3 says, what time I am afraid, I will trust in thee. It's a conscious choice. Job 13 in verse 15 says, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. He is in the midst of more difficulties than anyone has ever known. Just an avalanche has occurred on him. And he goes through difficulties up and down, but he comes to conscious decisions. Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. I'm going to continue to trust God. The definition of the word trust is this: to put your confidence or your hope in the integrity of another. He is a God of integrity, of trustworthiness. You read the Bible and see God's faithfulness to who he is. God demands justice and integrity even of himself. He's impartial in his dispensing of what is right and true and just and good. And he does it equally. He's not a respecter of persons. In Revelation chapter 6 it says about the kings of the earth and the great men and the rich men and the chief men and the mighty captains and every slave and every free man knew that they were going to stand before a just God and receive justice impartially, which that's more and more lends itself to the trustworthiness of God. We can trust him. Psalms 34:8 says, O taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is that man who trusteth in him. Well, this session, the title is Why I Pick Up a Penny, or Why We Should Pick Up Pennies. A penny's not worth much anymore. In fact, we would say a penny isn't worth anything anymore. Or is it? Is there something on a penny that makes it worth picking up and helping us to learn to trust God? First of all, I need to establish the fact that every one of us desires someone or something to put our trust in, put our hope, our confidence in. Psalms 20 verse 7, David says, some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will trust in the name of the Lord our God. We like to look at, I've got a big army, or I've got a lot of weaponry to face the enemy with. I can trust in those things. David said, no, you're better off to trust in God. In Luke chapter 18 and verse 9, Jesus is telling a parable. He says, and there were certain men among them who trusted in themselves that they were righteous. In other words, their hope of heaven was, I'm a good person, or I do these certain things. And that's always a danger. And I think all of us have fallen prey to that, to trust in ourselves. I've trusted in myself and let myself down. I'd like to read something to you about the Apostle Paul when he struggled with trusting. In his letter to the church of Corinth, his second letter, chapter 1 and verse 8. Let me read these words for you. For we would not, brethren, have you ignorant of our trouble, which came unto us in Asia, that we were pressed out of measure above strength, insomuch that we despaired even of life. We can't imagine the persecutions and objections and oppositions that he felt and experienced when he was in Corinth. He said we were just beyond our ability to handle this. Verse 9 says, we had the sentence of death in ourselves, that we should not trust in ourselves, but in God who raises the dead, who delivered us from so great a death, and doth deliver us, in whom we trust, that he will yet deliver us. You also helping together in your prayers for us. Prayers help us in learning to trust God, having people to pray for our faith, for our confidence, our hope in an eternal God who raises the dead. And we need those prayers. But he struggled with trusting in himself. I care about myself, and so do all of us. the sentence of death. I need something beyond me. And God is that one who is deserving of our trust. Well, I'd like to turn our attention to a real big competitor for trust for all of us. And it's money or wealth or riches. I'm going to read for you 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 17. He says this, "Charge them that are rich in this age, that they be not high-minded," that they don't think more of themselves than they should. They put their confidence in themselves. That's what it means to be high-minded. "Nor trust in uncertain riches, but in the living God, who gives us all things richly to enjoy." Don't trust in uncertain riches. They could collapse at any moment. I'm going to give you another scripture. In Psalm chapter 49. Psalm 49 and in verse 6 and 7. Now, the warning is, there's a big competitor. If I have money, God's trustworthy. Whoa, God's trustworthy if you don't have a dime or you don't have a penny. God is still trustworthy. Here's what it says in Psalm 49, verses 6 and 7. "They that trust in wealth and boast themselves in the multitude of their riches, none of them can by any means redeem his brother, nor give to God a ransom for him." Not for his brother and not for himself. "Riches profit not in the day of wrath, when a man stands before God to be judged in his integrity and his honesty and his righteousness." There will be no compromises with truth when we stand before God. He says, nobody's going to go for their wallet and say, what does it take for me to get into this place? They won't profit. There'll be no value in riches. You can heap all the riches of the world upon a man, and it won't make him a Christian. You can heap all the riches of the world upon a Christian, and it won't make him a better one. So he's saying, don't trust in the riches. And remember this, Deuteronomy 8:18, Moses says, remember that it is God who gives you power to get wealth. It's not our brilliance or our abilities. God enables people to gain wealth, to have the money they need to live. Proverbs 11:4 makes it very clear that riches will not profit us anything when we stand before God. Mark 8:36, what does it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his own soul? It's not my trust in the riches that are going to benefit me in that day. Well, I would like to include this saying right now too. This is always appropriate with regard to talking about worldly treasures and money. And it's wealth and money and stuff is just paper or metal. It is amoral. It's the love of it or the confidence in it. It's the danger. In fact, it says the love of it is the root of all evil. A lot of other evils are fed. They're bred and fed and raised off the love of money. But Jim Elliot, who was a missionary to the Auca Indians in Ecuador in 1956, he was 29 years old when he was killed by the Indians. But he had written this statement. He said, no man, how does that go? A man is, I'll find it here, he is no fool, there we go. He is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain that which he cannot lose. Trusting in God lays up for ourselves eternal rewards in heaven. And the stuff here, you cannot keep it no matter how hard you try. There's no U-Hauls behind hearses. There's nobody taking it with them when they go. When you die, your bank account goes to zero. So he's saying, really don't put your confidence in the things that are here and tangible. Put it in a God who's beyond this world, treasures in heaven. Well, trusting God is a treasure. Learning to trust God and put our confidence in God. And it's also an art. It's something we have to learn. The ministry of trusting of all neglected arts is now the one most needed. God give us trusting hearts. The dictionary definition of the word art, of learning this art, is this. It's a system of rules serving to facilitate the performance of certain actions. So I'm learning things so that when put to the test, I can in fact perform the way God says this is the best for you. And it's putting my trust in God. Well, it's something that we need to learn. Why do I pick up a penny? I have a handful of coins here. I'll tell you the story behind these in just a moment. In fact, I'll tell them to you right now. In 1953, Dwight D. Eisenhower was elected our 34th president. He was president from 1953 to 1961. He was the chief commander of the Allied forces in Europe. He came home a distinguished general. And as he was elected president in 1955, the 86th Congress passed a bill, which he signed, saying that we want to put our nation's motto, which was Eisenhower's prompting that we needed a national motto, and the national motto was, "In God We Trust." And so the 86th Congress passed a bill, he signed it, saying we're going to print that on all of our currency, paper or metal. So in 1957, all the other money is being pushed aside, and all the money is being printed now has on it, "In God We Trust." Those four things. We're learning to trust God. On the penny, President Lincoln, on the penny, "In God We Trust." The nickel, I think it's Jefferson, "In God We Trust." The dime, I had a dime here. I don't see it. There it is. Here's a dime, I think it's Franklin Delano Roosevelt, "In God We Trust." The quarter, Washington, the same thing. Kennedy, $50, "In God We Trust." Whether you have a Susan B. Anthony or a Sacagawea $1 bill, it has on, or $1 coin, "In God We Trust." And then Eisenhower, on the dollar, has "In God We Trust." Why do I pick up a penny? A penny has no value to it anymore. I mean, just no value. But something on it has a reminder to us, don't trust in money. We trust in God. Economies rise and fall and collapse. But in God we trust. He doesn't collapse. I'm going to give you this verse. It's Proverbs 23. Yes, Proverbs 23, 4 and 5. Solomon was in a time of Israel's greatest wealth. In fact, it says in Scripture that he had turned silver and gold into things as common as stones. The economy was unbelievable. Wealth. People from all over the world were giving tribute to Solomon in Israel. Wealth, great wealth. But here's what he said in Proverbs 23, verses 4 and 5. He says, "Labor not to be rich. Cease from thine own wisdom. Wilt thou set thine eyes upon that which is not?" Are you going to look for something that's not there? It's not there. Confidence, hope, trust is not there. He said, "For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away like an eagle toward heaven." The eagle is our national bird. On the back of Eisenhower's dollar is an eagle. $50, an eagle. A quarter, an eagle. Let me read this verse to you again. "For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away like an eagle toward heaven. But in God we trust, not in our riches." Why is it worth picking up a penny? It's a reminder to me, though it has little to no value, the only country in the world that has printed on its currency, "In God We Trust." Oh, people want to trust in the euro or trust in the different currencies of the world. But our country's principles have been built upon Christian principles. We had a president who's known for a lot of different things. One of them is known for the interstate highway system. He wanted to make sure that America could move. And you talk about one of the great assets to our defense in this country, the interstate system. You can move men and machinery quickly in this country. And you take Interstate 90, goes from Boston all the way to Seattle. Interstate 80, east to west, from New York to Sacramento. I-40 from Wilmington, North Carolina, all the way to Barstow or to LA. You go north and south, I-35, from Duluth all the way down to Laredo. I mean, he is known, I-75, from Sault Ste. Marie to Naples, Florida. And the different, and you look at just the interstate system, that same president, was he trusting in that? His ability to move men, his ability to skill in the battle? God moved in his life in some way to say, we need to realize that our confidence has to be something in more than us, our ability to move men, to make command decisions militarily. or to have financial wealth. He said, it's in God we trust. I thank God for him taking the initiative and for a Congress that would pass it. So when you see a penny sometime, pick it up as, if nothing else, not for its monetary value, but for what's written on it, helping me learn to trust God. Just a reminder, in God we trust. I'm going to take a break from the Trust series next week and do one on the Incarnation, the fellowship of the mystery, which was hidden in God from ages past, but now is revealed unto us. I think you'll enjoy the good, it'll be Christmas Eve, and then we'll finish up our last message with 3 young Israelites who shook their world by their trusting God. God bless you. Now to him who is able to keep you from falling, present you faultless before the presence of his glory, with exceeding joy. To him be glory and majesty, dominion and power, both now and forever. God bless you.